All right. Hey, everybody. Today we're going to learn about transcendentalism, all right, which is a very long word. So we need to ask ourselves, what does this mean? All right. So transcendentalism is an ideal spiritual state, and it rises above the physical and realistic. So it's almost like out of body, otherworldly. It's an ideal spiritual state. And this ideal spiritual state transcends or rises above the physical world. All right, now I'm attaching these notes too, but I know that in class you liked me to write the main ideas on the board, so that's what we're doing right now. So, Transcendentalism also includes ideas about a lot of things. Such as literature, philosophy, religion, and social reform. And American culture, like the general state of it. So it includes ideas about literature, right? And that's stories, books, and we're going to read some transcendental work. Literature, philosophy, religion, social reform, and American culture. All right? So, the great thing about transcendentalism is that the emphasis is on the individual. And this is why I asked you the other day if you thought you were an individual or a follower. Because for transcendentalism, the emphasis is on the individual, so the movement had different meanings for everyone involved. Okay, because the other great thing about transcendentalism is that it was the first American approach to big ideas. All right, this was like our first seat at the Brainiac table, if that makes sense. So, transcendentalism is an ideal spiritual state which transcends or rises above the physical world. All right, so it's an ideal spiritual state. And it includes ideas about literature, philosophy, religion, social reform, and American culture in general. And the emphasis is on the individual. So if I'm a transcendentalist and you're a transcendentalist and your friend's a transcendentalist, the movement's going to look different for all of us. It's not going to look the same. Okay? So that's basically what transcendentalism is. But our next question, where did it come from? How did this all get started? So I just erase my board here. And you can pause this video, rewind it, obviously, go back if there's something you missed. Hopefully it helps you feel a little bit like we're in class again all together. And I hope this helps you understand it better than instead of me just posting, the slideshow. Because I'm going to do that too, but I thought it would help if I explained things as we went along. So, transcendentalism, where does it come from? All right? So, the father of Transcendentalism is Ralph Waldo Emerson. Right? He's the father of Transcendentalism. And trying to see, and he gave credit to a German philosopher by the name of Immanuel Kant, for making the term popular. Alright, and really, Transcendentalism started as a reform movement in the Unitarian Church. But it's not a religion. Alright, people who believe in Transcendentalism might have thoughts about religion, but Transcendentalism itself is not a religion. Right? There aren't Transcendentalist churches. Okay? It's just a form of spirituality. It's more about getting in touch with your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, your soul. And ironically, we just read The Crucible, and we learned about the Puritans who were very strict. It was all about God. This movement started in the same place. Alright? So it's centered around Boston and Concord, Massachusetts. I'm going to butcher spelling Massachusetts, so we'll just use MA. Alright, and first written about in Emerson's essay that he titled Nature. Okay? So, the father of Transcendentalism is Ralph Waldo Emerson. There's that handsome devil. That's our buddy Ralph. He gave credit to Immanuel Kant, who was a German philosopher, for the name. And it started as a reform movement in a church, but it is not a religion. It's a form of spirituality. And it started in Boston and in Concord. And the first time anybody ever heard of it was when Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote his essay, Nature. So we know what it means. We know where it comes from. But what is it really? Right? Like, I call myself a transcendentalist. So what does that mean? That means I believe in 4 basic principles. Alright? So there are 4 basic principles of Transcendentalism, and that's the next thing I'm going to talk to you about. Remember, you can slow this down, speed it up, follow along on the slides, whatever is going to help you understand Transcendentalism. Because parts of it, can be kind of weird, and that's what we're going to talk about now. Like, some of the premises, the 4 basic beliefs, like, once you start talking about them, it's like you get all confused. some of the concepts are hard. So that's why I wanted to make a video and we could talk about it. All right? So there are 4 basic beliefs. All right? And in the slides, they're also called premises. All right? So, a transcendentalist believes in 4 basic things. The first is that an individual is the spiritual center of the universe. Okay? And so an individual is a spiritual center of the universe, which means that anything you need to know, anything you need to understand is already inside of you. You are composed of everything you need to know, everything you need to understand. It's all inside. You just need to figure that out, whatever's going on inside you. So it's an individual can best explain the world with what's already inside. All right, and try to think about how revolutionary this was, because before this, it was everything is about God. We're lowly, we're sinners, we do terrible things, we can't do anything without God. Now, people are beginning to think, well, wait a minute. I have value. Everything I need comes from me. All right? And that's not to say that Transcendentalists were atheists. They just started to understand the individual value. All right? Now, the second one is my favorite. All knowledge begins with self-knowledge. You can go to school, you can come to my class, and I can try and teach you about the world and about books, but none of that means anything if you don't know who you are. It doesn't mean anything if you don't know how you want to use that information. All knowledge begins with self-knowledge. You could be the smartest person in the room, but if you don't feel comfortable in yourself, if you don't have faith in yourself, who cares? It doesn't matter how smart you are. All right, so all knowledge begins with self-knowledge. The third premise is that nature is symbolic. It is full of signs and answers. All right, so Transcendentalists believe that if you want to figure something out, if there's something going on inside of you, don't go to other people, because then they'll get in your ear and you might follow their example, and then that's denying who you really are. To find yourself, you need to forsake society. Get rid of it. Go into nature. Spend time alone in nature, because nature literally replicates itself in us. We are a part of nature. Right? So we should listen to our own nature. Right? Go and sit beneath a tree or go to the beach. Right? What's that famous saying? That salt water cures anything, whether it's tears or sweat or the ocean, right? You either exercise and work it out, you cry it out, or you go to the beach and you sit and you think. Nature has all the answers that you need. Leave society, right? Because everybody's always trying to sell you something or convince you that you're not good enough to make them feel better. Forget society, trust yourself. So the fourth premise is probably the hardest to understand. All right? And that is self-realization. All right, and self-realization has two parts. The first is that you have a desire to know and become one with the world. All right, that you want to get closer to nature, you want to get closer to your fellow man. All right, but to do that, and this is where the second part comes in, to become one with the world, you have to be strong enough with yourself. Right? You have to be able to withdraw from that world, know who you are, and then join it. All right? Hopefully that makes sense. I'm explaining it well. So you want to also, you have this desire to remain unique and separate. All right? You probably can't see that. Let me move it back. All right, yeah. A desire to remain unique and separate. I love people. I am all about people. I am a people person. Okay? But I can't love, and no one should love people so much that you give up who you are and what you know is right. You got to balance it out. You got to be strong with yourself and be willing to understand others. All right, so the four basic beliefs of Transcendentalism. 1, an individual is the spiritual center of the universe. Everything you need is already inside of you. 2, all knowledge begins with self-knowledge. So before you can access all that wonderfulness and goodness inside of you, you need to know what it is, where it is, and what you're going to do with it. You can be the smartest person in the room, but if you're uncomfortable in your own skin, if you don't know how to use that knowledge or why you want to use that knowledge, it doesn't matter. 3, nature is symbolic, full of signs, full of answers to all your problems. Don't go to people. People are the worst. All right? Transcendentalists believe that if you want to figure something out, go to nature. All right? And last but not least, this concept of self-realization. That you want to know and become one with the world and embrace your fellow man, but you're going to do that while remaining separate and unique and staying true to yourself. All right? So those are the four basic premises of Transcendentalism. So now let's talk about the two main Transcendentalists, our founding fathers. All right, remember, you can pause this, rewind it, fast forward it, follow along on the Google slide presentation, and if you have any questions, obviously, you can post on Google Classroom, which might be helpful because some of the other students might have the same question. You can email me, and I will get back to you. All right? So basically, Transcendentalists believed that the individual had all the answers. They were a spiritual center of the universe. That people were good. That we were worthy of being acknowledged. That there was value within us. All right? We were our own little spiritual centers of the universe. All right? You're your own little light of the world. Which was really cool, but really revolutionary because, like I said before this, all of it went to God. Right? There was no real concept of the individual. And nobody was talking about the individual human experience. Until the Transcendentalists came along. Specifically, let's start with the founding father, Ralph Waldo Emerson. All right, we're going to read a couple of works by him. He lived from 1803 to 1882. Had a nice long life. He was a poet and essayist, so he was a writer. My boy. He founded the Transcendental Club. All right, so he really gathered people together who felt the same way that he did, that the individual was valuable and worthy. Okay? He was a supporter of abolitionism, which means he was against slavery. Because, again, he thought all human life had value. So how could one human possibly own another? Alright? They can't, because all human life has value. The other really badass thing about Ralph Waldo Emerson, he was banned from Harvard for 40 years because he was giving like a speech as a guest, and he tore down religion and talked about believing in yourself and trusting in yourself, and it was revolutionary and it was wild. So Harvard freaked out because they were very traditional and banned him for 40 years. I don't know, I think that's kind of cool. So, Ralph Waldo Emerson, he's our founding father. He was a poet and essayist, so he was a writer. He founded the Transcendental Club, and he was a supporter of abolitionism, which means he was against slavery because he believed all human life had value, because all individuals had value. Right? A little close-up of our boy. Ow. Right, that's Ralph Waldo Emerson. All right, we're going to learn about one more. Now, this guy is my favorite. If I had to pick one transcendentalist to read over and over again, it would be Henry David Thoreau, our next guy. Now, I like him so much, I want to use a fancy color, but I don't know if it's going to show up. Let's see. No, you guys can't see that. We'll make him blue. Alright, so let's talk about Henry David Thoreau. Alright, he was a wild man. Alright, he lived from 1817 to 1862. So he died kind of young. He was a school teacher. What? Essayist. And poet. So he was a school teacher and he was a writer. Do you see why I love this guy? He's most famous for Walden, which was a book he wrote, and Civil Disobedience, which is an essay he wrote. And we're going to read excerpts from both of those. And this is why I say that he was kind of badass. He went and lived in the woods by himself for a couple years to figure out who he was. Alright, and that's where Walden came from. And he didn't believe in the war, so he refused to pay taxes to fund a war he didn't believe in, and he was jailed. He was jailed for his beliefs. He was not going to conform to society's rules, he was going to stand by his principles, and he was willing to be jailed for it. That's awesome. He influenced the environmental movement. So he was very concerned with taking care of the planet and connecting with it. And he also supported abolitionists, or abolitionism. Because again, all human life has value. Every individual is valuable. Alright? So that's Henry David Thoreau. Alright. That's everything you need to know about Transcendentalism. And in 25 minutes. That's not bad. So review this video, review the Google Slides, and take the notebook quiz. You're obviously allowed to use your notes. And start thinking about whether or not you're a transcendentalist. Do you believe in those 4 basic beliefs? Why or why not? We're going to talk about it. Thanks, guys.